I bought a new car today. And it's actually not that bad. It's not that bad at all. I was expecting the worst, but no, it's going to be, this is my third Spec Miata. I've learned quite a bit. I've built one pretty much from the ground up, and then I've torn one from a complete car all the way down to the ground. So I've learned the ins and outs, you know, every bolt, all that good stuff. So as of right now, I just gave it a good clean. The interior, whoever sprayed it just didn't prep the interior, and I mean all the paint's peeling off, so that's going to be annoying, because I mean it'd be nice to just scuff it and reshoot it, but unfortunately, I mean, to do this right, you'd really have to take all this all the way down. I don't even know what kind of paint they use. They use like some Plasti Dip or some garbage. That's not even Plasti Dip. This is worse than Plasti Dip. This is like great value freaking satin white or something. I don't know. But yeah, so that is absolutely atrocious. So I have to deal with that somehow. I cleaned up the interior. The car sat for like 3 years, so it just had a bunch of grime everywhere. But it's got a Kirky. The trans tunnel's been notched. I think they basically made a custom homemade floor pan, as you can see right there. That way, I think the guy that was doing the install was a taller fella, so it's really far back and it's really low. So a regular person like me, who's like 5'10", stands no chance of fitting in this thing. It's just way too big. But that's easy. You know, we can just shim the seat and scoot it forward, re-drill the pan, etc., etc. So that's no issue at all. So I'll address that probably last. I have a set of belts that I can put on that have good dates. So those will be legal. I don't know everybody's preference on these guys. You do not have to run these. So I don't know. I'm not really sure the benefit of running this thing, which might be bad, but whatever. But yeah, I don't know. I'll probably end up taking this out. There's really no reason to have that. I do have the hardtop, which is in really good shape, and it's got good glass. So yeah, so far I just rebuilt the shifter. The car actually came with a whole bunch of new parts. So it came with the complete shifter rebuild kit. I got to the point to where I installed all the new bushings. I actually resprayed the shifter itself because it was rusty and crappy looking. So now I'm at the point to where I'm going to suck out all the fluid that's up here. If you guys don't know, with these Miata transitions, you have the main fluid that's in the trans case, and then this is actually a separate portion that contains fluid just for the shifter housing. And the only way to empty this is to either take the transmission out and turn it upside down, or if you have like a little vacuum tube or something to stick in there and suck the fluid out. Either or. I personally have a brake leader that has a really long vacuum hose on it, so I can just shove it down in there and suck all the old fluid out. And then whenever you pour it back in, the little shifter linkage right here, you basically just fill the fluid up to that, and that's all she wrote. So I'll do the fluid, install the shifter, and then install the boot, and then that'll be done. Put this back. It's already got a wideband. It does also have a it's kind of a strange, I've never seen it, but it's a 5X Racing fuel pressure regulator. It's that dude right there. So I'll probably just leave that. I don't know. I would rather have a legitimate fuel pressure regulator and install it in the back like most people do, which I do have. I have a Tomei fuel pressure regulator. It just depends. If I had the fuel line to set it up and install it in the trunk, then I probably will. Otherwise, as you can see, that gauge is broken. But the car did come with a brand new gauge, so technically I can just uninstall that gauge, install the new gauge, and then just leave it and it'll be fine. But I don't know, we'll see. Sorry, I gotta hold the hood open. There's no hood prop. But yeah, apparently it's got it's either an ESR head or an X Factor head. I can't remember exactly. But yeah, it's got an aluminum radiator and just some other odds and ends. But the engine seems to run really well. It's got a really high idle at the moment, and then sometimes it'll cut out. But the ECU is not even mounted. I mean, it's just floating. So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if it's just because it's cutting out because the ECU is getting rocked and rolled. But yeah, I've also done, so aside from the shifter, I went through and I did all the brakes. So we have brand new rotors and brand new pads. I noticed yesterday that the front upper ball joint is broken on this guy. So you got some good play there. So these are not serviceable, so you just have to buy a new control arm. And instead of running offset ball joints for the lower in order to get more camber, what people are now doing, so it's now allowed, you just buy the new upper control arm with this the offset bushings, and you want to run like 3.5 degrees up front, and with that upper control arm, that'll allow you to do that. You don't want to run the offset ball joints in order to get the camber. I had a race earlier this year at Circuit of the America, and the second race, I think it was like 4 laps in, and this happened. So yeah, that was after spending all that money, driving all that way, and just for that crap to happen. Luckily, I didn't hit the wall or anything, but yeah, really crappy way to end such a journey. And we had to drive, I mean, I literally had to drive down there early to miss a snowstorm. So I was driving through Dallas in a sleet ice storm that, you know, I almost died like 10 times getting down there. And to get down there for a freaking, you know, a $60 ball joint to break is just really, I mean, it's super disheartening. So take it from me, don't run those stupid things, just get OEM and call it a day. And yeah, so we'll do that. We'll replace both front uppers. The car is already on Penske's. It already has the correct sway bars. The eccentric bolts look like they are just complete trash. And luckily, the car came with the new eccentric bolts. So I'll install these and then go through, check the ride height, make sure that the ride height's in a good area, and then I'll go through and do like a 1/16 of an inch toe in the rear, maybe like an 1/8 total, and then probably just do a 0 toe up front and maybe a 1/16 out. And yeah, I mean, aside from, well, and we'll do fluids as well. So we'll do regular engine oil, do some Redline MTL, and then for the trans, or I'm sorry, not the trans, but the differential, Redline makes a specific fluid for that differential, and it is the Redline 7590 NS. So we'll put that stuff in there. Car will have all new fluids. I'm also going to be getting the NGK, they're called the long reach spark plugs. Those are the ones that you want to run in your Spec MIata. Something about how the ignition process starts sooner or something, I can't remember exactly off the top of my head, but it's something to do with that. But they're the go-to spark plug. And yeah, then I've got to find some better tires. These things are literally from 2014. Although, I mean, they are kind of soft, not too bad, but yeah, those aren't going to work. So I'm thinking, so I bought this car to sell. It's like strictly to sell. This is not a car that I'm keeping, but there is a race at the end of this month, so it would be kind of fun to go take it out, because I really think that I can make enough money to where I can justify spending, you know, like $1,000 or whatever at a race just to go have fun. But I don't know, we'll see. A lot of my buddies still run Miatas, because I mean, I used to run Miatas earlier this year. I just recently switched to the Formula Mazda, so it would be kind of fun to go kick it around with those guys again. So yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I've already test drove the car. The gearbox feels good. I mean the suspension felt like crap, but I didn't realize that, you know, 3/4 of everything was loose. So luckily I made it back in one piece. But yeah, I mean honestly, the car is actually in pretty good shape. I mean it really doesn't. This hail damage doesn't really matter. I mean it's a race car, so who cares? But like the paint's pretty cool. The hardtop is in great condition, so that's super important. That thing is $2,000 by itself. And yeah, I mean all this other little knick-knack stuff can easily be remedied, just a little bit of elbow grease, and the car will really come along. And I think it could be a good car, so I'll put my time and efforts into it, and hopefully we can make it a competitive car, and more importantly hopefully we can sell it for a good profit. We will see. So you just pulled the fuel pump out, and luckily fuel tank looks good. So that's definitely a plus. Won't be having to replace or clean that out. That's the fuel pump that was in it. Looks like trash, so going into the trash. I think the fuel level sensor was working, but it just so happens that I had a brand new one just hanging around. So put a new fuel pump in, and then a new fuel pickup or fuel level sensor, and just cleaned it up a little bit. And actually it's in really good shape. So in order to run low fuel with the Miatas, you want the return line to be going right over your sock. I've never messed with an NA one before, but obviously this one it's already going right over the sock, so this is actually a pretty good setup. On the NBs, whenever you take out the factory fuel pressure regulator, it's actually going to end up like right here. So what you'll want to do is actually get some fuel line and run that directly over the fuel sock, and just zip tie it in place. Makes a huge difference on not fuel starving and all that good stuff whenever you're low on fuel. So yeah, after this point, I'm just going to put this fuel pump hanger back in, button it all back up, and we should be good to go. Well, in terms of the actual fuel setup, that is. We just got finished replacing the threw it on the ground. Okay, so with this 5X Racing adjustable fuel pressure regulator kit thing, it comes with a your gauge. This thing was busted, so switched that out, put the new one in, took the throttle body off, cleaned it up. Basically just went through and checked everything over, and honestly everything looked pretty good. So coupled with replacing the fuel pump, I just fired it up. It sounds really good. The idle is set, so it's idling at like 800 RPMs now. So let's let you guys have a listen. Fires right up. And I do have another set of spark plugs coming in. I don't know the condition of the ones that are in it, so I'm gonna go ahead and replace them. But whenever I replaced the gauge, it was showing that it was only set to like 20 psi. So base fuel pressure is 45, and then you basically use a wideband to adjust at the fly. That's why you have an adjustable fuel pressure regulator for Spec Miatas. It's really one of the only tools that you can use to tune the car to get whatever target AFR that you're wanting. But yeah, no smoking or any weird noises. So yeah, I mean, this car is going to have a ton of potential, and I'm actually really excited. I'm really surprised, honestly, because when I first got this car, I mean, it looked pretty rough. But I mean, even the shifter install looks really nice. I got the oil pressure gauge mounted, and you can tell target AFR. I mean, 14.7 is typically what you want to target for idle, and it's right there. But yeah, I mean, everything just looks good. So I'm still not sure what I'm going to do about this crappy paint, but otherwise, and I spent like $600 today buying the upper control arms, some bushings, and a few other miscellaneous things that are going to be needed in order to get the car back on the road. But yeah, no, it's coming together very nicely, and honestly, it's coming together a lot sooner than I really had imagined, because this is, I mean, I've only put like 5 hours in this car, and to have it at this point is very, very awesome, very rewarding. Unfortunately, I kind of got ahead of myself, and I finished it, but unfortunately I didn't record anything. Specifically, I didn't record fixing the inside, which looks a million times better. I mean, it's not perfect by any means, but I mean, compared to what it was, this is 10 out of 10. But yeah, so since the last update, I had gotten a ton of parts in. I ended up buying the I don't know if you can see them back there. You can kind of see them, but anyways, those are I think it's Drake Motorsports. The owner is Tyler Quantz, and yeah, they're brand new upper control arms with slotted bushings, which will allow you to get the camber that I was talking about. So I installed those. I installed all eccentric bolts. Some of the ones that were in there were complete garbage and rusty, and I mean, I had to take a hammer to a couple of them just to get them out. So it was definitely good that I replaced those. I checked all the bushings and the control arms while I was doing that. All the ball joints that weren't replaced, they're all good. So suspension wise, the car it's ready to go. And the funny thing about this car is the Penske's that are on it were actually my old Penske's from my 99. So yeah, it's just kind of ironic that I ended up getting them back. But yeah, I mean, it's good to go. So with this Kirky, it does have that bar right there. You can adjust that bar. So really, in order to adjust the seat, you can just shim it up or down depending on, you know, where you want it as far as height goes, and then you can slot it front and back, and then just drill your holes and then adjust that bar in the back to accommodate what your seating position needs to be. So the next owner, it doesn't matter what their size is, they'll be able to adjust that and get that set up for themselves. And yes, I ended up buying a new battery. Also, the car didn't have the hood latch for whatever reason, so I installed these little pins, which these are pretty nice, makes it a lot easier to deal with. And yeah, I mean, nothing's really changed. I just cleaned it up, installed the NGK long reach spark plugs. I replaced all of the coolant hoses, and then I put in distilled water with water wetter, and that was pretty much that was basically it. So yeah, pretty standard stuff. The car really didn't need a whole lot. So it was more or less just giving it a once over, making sure everything was good, replacing anything that needed to be replaced, which luckily for me all just ended up being small stuff. And yeah, so it's a good setup. Unfortunately, I didn't record a lot of it. As you can see, those eccentric bolts brand new, and I gave it just a basic setup. I can't remember the ride height. I think it's like 4 and 5 inches. And then like I was saying, I gave it, I think it was like a 16th or an 8th total rear toe, and then like a 0 toe up front. So a pretty neutral setup, and then a good baseline for whoever gets it, and they can adjust it from there. This is I had 3 sets of wheels that came with this car. I had 1 set that came with a set of Toyos that were from 2014, super old. So those are definitely not going to work. There were these are like BF Goodwrench G-Force, and then the other ones were the Toyo Wets. I can't remember exactly what they are, but yeah, got the hard top back installed, and yeah, I mean, painting the car made a huge difference. I mean, I didn't do that great of a job, but compared to what it was, I mean, it's night and day. And what so this is roll bar paint, so you can go to O'Reilly's and get roll bar paint, and that stuff is pretty good. So I was able to get some good coverage, and it's strong, so it doesn't scratch easy and all that stuff. But for the floors, what I ended up doing is, this is actually truck bed liner. So yeah, it's super resilient stuff, and I mean, it looks really good. So yeah, that's I gave it a good shakedown, and yeah, now actually I just listed it for sale, so it's ready to go to a new home. So if you are interested, feel free to email me, and I'd be happy to share all the details and get you set up.